Hey guys, today I'm going to be kind of showing you how to make a template for a helmet, specifically one that has a pretty narrow dome, like as far as the tall stuff goes. So, and this can work for anything, to be honest. You can even use a motorcycle helmet if you really wanted to. It's to me, this is a little bit big because this is like 3 inches thick, so it can withstand up to those kind of drops. Crap. Whatever. I can glue that back on. Anyways, but yeah. So that stuff is like 3 inches thick. So I'm not using that. This is also a little thick, but it's at least closer and to the point to where how can I put this? It just makes it a little bit easier to pad and everything. Now, I'm pretty sure people have their arguments, but to me, this just is easier to work with. It's a little bit easier concept. And on top of that, if you're using like foam, it's already almost that thick anyways. And you can also probably scale it down if you really wanted to. If you're good at that kind of thing, you can probably just make it like a tad bit smaller if you really wanted to. But point being is most of these helmets are quite a bit bigger than people's heads. They're not really exactly skin tight or whatever. So usually I would use aluminum foil for this, completely wrap this up and then duct tape it. But I don't have a lot of aluminum foil, so right now I'm just kind of using saran wrap. And the whole point of this really is to just give a medium between the helmet and the tape, because there's obviously a problem with only using tape. So it's just easier, but you do want to tape the saran wrap, or if you are using saran wrap, you're gonna want to tape that down. But if you're using like foil, it shouldn't be rolling around too much, but essentially you just need a medium in between. Saran wrap is not the ideal choice, but that's all you have, that's fine. So I'm going to be making a Mandalorian helmet for one of my friends, and this kind of seemed to be a good general shape. Now, it does have like these slight ridges and everything that I'm going to try and stay away from. Hopefully I can put on enough layers of tape to where it overcomes that, but if not, that's completely fine. I can sand it down from the template or something, it's not that big of a deal. Also, you have to keep in mind where the helmet sits. Just because the brim is there doesn't mean it sits like that. It could sit like this, it doesn't really matter. There goes my saran wrap. So, that's literally all you do for a little while, is just cover it in tape. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and I'll be right back. Finish. It's really just the top piece, the round piece. But yeah, I think it's where did it get cut? Now, I somehow lost my Sharpie, which is really depressing. But, yeah. So, again, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to pause. The car was coming in. This is mainly for, like, Star Wars helmets, anything that has, like, a really flat top. Like Stormtrooper helmets, or, in this case, the Mandalorian helmet, which can always be raised or lowered. Again, this is just the top of it. So, you want to find the contours of it and kind of the places where you'd be able to cut. You can cut it in several different ways. One way is you can do it the way that I did with the other one that I did, which is the hemisphere method, going down the center and then going from there. Or if you really wanted, you can even do rings all the way around until you get to the top. Obviously, it would be a little bit more difficult, but I mean, it really just kind of depends, and also kind of depends on your helmet. So with this one, and also you could even do triangles. I think, though, for this case, I'm just going to stick with the hemisphere. method because then you have the least amount of, I wouldn't say the least amount of lines because you still have a lot of line to cover, but you have the least amount of pieces that you have to worry about losing. And to me, it's just easier to make a concept of rather than gluing rings together, which can be a little difficult and everything. Even though this one does have stress whenever you're gluing it together, it just to me it's a little easier. Obviously, you can do whatever, but for me, I'm doing the hemisphere, so I'm drawing in the center, and then on the sides, and that's really it. So you have a center line and these lines, so then you'll end up getting 4 pieces. What I did wrong on the last one that I had is right on the top pieces right here. This is my, oh yeah, by the way, it's done. It looks really nice. What I did, you can still see it, is one, it was a bit wide. Whenever it came up to here, I made a what's called a dart. And you're not supposed to be putting darts on these pieces. So, and that's why the dome is still slightly off, is because I put the dart there, and it just basically just shrunk it a little. I mean, it still went together and everything how it was supposed to, but you know, whatever. Okay, so my dad just came in too. Alright, so I'm gonna go look for my Sharpie, draw the lines and everything, and I'll be right back. You can find other tutorials that do it with different helmets. The only reason why I'm showing you guys mine, because I don't like to waste people's time. Like, if there's other videos out there, then I'm not really gonna do a whole how-to, because usually I'm either doing the same method or I'm using the same materials. If I find a different method that works and it actually comes out looking like what it is, I'm not gonna boast about it. I'm just gonna say, hey, here's another way that doesn't seem like a lot of other people are touching up on. That's what I'm doing here. The only other foam helmet thing that actually describes to you how to actually make a helmet is this channel called Evil Ted, and he goes into complete depth about it. But my problem about it is he uses his own head, which is completely fine for your own like helmets and everything. But whenever you're making Star Wars helmets or anything that has like a flat dome, it's gonna come out. It's not gonna come out weird, so to say. It's just your head is a lot more round in certain areas than a World War II style helm, which is what I figured out they use. And then the other tutorial is by Jake Spear, and he actually uses a stall helm, and you know, not a whole lot of people actually have a stall helm. So I'm showing you guys that it will work with a bicycle helmet. Now a lot of people will have the common sense that I'll just use it anyways. I'm just going to show you guys that it will eventually work. But I'm going to be using cardboard for the Mandalorian helmet, and the main reason is because I'm going to be putting paper mache over it. Definitely going to be covering up the actual cardboard of it, because yeah, I got EVA foam and I'm leaving soon anyways, but I'm trying to explore different routes and everything, because I don't want to only use EVA foam, because obviously it's not very good for structure. It makes it look very pretty and it's tougher, but it's not structurally good. So what I want to try and do is stick with cardboard but use it as a structure, and obviously have cosmetics around that will make it look nicer. Like, just for the helmet, I'm using cardboard and then paper macheing it. So that way, it's a lot more round. I don't have to do a whole lot of sanding, and the helmet is structurally okay. And also on the inside, I'll put supports and everything, because again, this is thicker than your head. So just using cardboard is going to be a little bit big, which is good, because that means you can put support in there. And ironically enough, whenever you put like padding inside, it kind of, whenever you put it on, it puts pressure on the helmet. There's a reason why it kind of does that. Anyways, where I don't know, it's just gonna be smoother with using paper mache on the top, and then the rest I'll use foam, because I don't need paper mache to make really round things. I can actually round those out. Since the helmet is one of the most time-consuming and really confusing things, because what you're doing is you're taking basically a one-dimensional thing, because we don't really count it as two-dimensional, one-dimensional object, and turning it into either two-dimensional or three-dimensional object. Now, the reason why I say one-dimensional is We don't really care about the thickness whenever we're doing this, usually. Now, if we're talking about padding and actually, like, oh, is it going to fit on my head? Then obviously, but I'm talking about, like, looking at it. Okay, yeah, just two-dimensional. That's what I meant. Like, not the third dimension. That's what I meant. Don't. Well, there goes the comments section. Anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys know what I meant. Just a flat surface and turning it into a three-dimensional surface is not easy without doing a whole lot of math. So this is kind of where I'm trying to go. So again, I'm gonna go find my Sharpie and do this real quick. Okay, so technically you can just tape half of the helmet. I totally forgot this. So really, if you want to keep it consistent, you actually should only use half. Then again, I mean, yeah. So if you're doing this step by step, which usually people don't, but if you are doing this step by step, sorry that I made you waste tape, but yeah, really, what you should be doing is just you really only need one side, and I just decided to start doing this. So this is what you do, and it's really easy to find your centerline if you're using a bicycle helmet with holes in it. If you don't have holes, you're gonna have to excuse me. You're gonna have to figure that one out. Now usually there are things that kind of contribute to the center line, such as holes or really whatever, but it really kind of just depends. So what I'm gonna do, since this helmet's already scratched up anyways, I'm just gonna take an X-Acto knife, run all the way down, all the way to the side, and you should end up getting something like this. So, oh, and these hash marks also. Again, if you've seen, I'm pretty sure you've probably seen the other videos, but these hash marks, you eventually want to cut like little triangles out. You don't actually cut these out whenever you make the helmet. You just kind of draw them out so then you know where they mark up. So you just need the top piece and the side piece because it actually makes it more consistent because then you can just flip this over and you should have, if you're good at tracing, you should have an exact carbon copy of it. So now, yeah, the next step is to cut this out, and eventually you're going to find where the dart is on the side, which I'll show you soon. You should be getting something along the lines of this. Now, usually this piece can flatten out a little bit. Right now it is a little bit wonky because the end of it just like cuts a corner. So that section I might actually need to cut a little bit of a dart in just right here. If your helmet does that too, you can probably get away with making one in the back. Try to stay away from doing that in the front though. So, yeah, just kind of draw those in, especially on the side here. That's definitely not flattening it out on its own unless you used tin foil, which I honestly am liking the saran wrap a lot more because duct tape tends to keep its shape a little bit a lot more. So at least with tin foil, you'd be able to accidentally flatten it. This, not so much. It kind of tends to want to stay put, which is nice to be honest. So I mean, again, your preference, but yeah, if you have this little back thingy, just cut it in and then it'll flatten out. So I'm gonna grab my awesome scissors. Yeah, I bet you've never seen scissors like this, huh? Yeah. Alright, so you literally just cut in these little slits. Now, be liberal. You don't want it to be too short, but you don't want it to come up to here. You kind of generally want to get it to where you kind of see where it starts to curve a little bit more. So I'm cutting it slightly short because at least then I'll be able to cut more if I absolutely need to on the template. Now as for here, it's just in the middle. Now, yeah, if you have a curve like this, you just go out to the middle and it should be fine. So, and the other cool thing is these hash marks are going to help you. So if you start curving it the wrong way, then you'll know because these aren't lining up. So, I'm going to just use the scissors to cut the little triangles. It's way easier. You don't really exactly need to use an X-Acto knife or whatever for that. So I'm going to cut these out, flatten it out, and I'll be right back. Like that. So obviously you're going to have little lumps and stuff. That's fine. You'll, with cardboard, since it bends, it should be alright, especially if you're going to paper mache it later. Those, like, bad bumps, you can probably just cut off, put a little bit of like if you have like right here, if there's a bad lump right here because you didn't fold it right or something, you could probably just cut it off, add a like a flat circle there, and then get done with the paper mache. And paper mache isn't that hard either, so and it's relatively cheap. So I'm still trying to get it to where most of the people that want to actually cosplay can still do it at a low cost. Just because I got EVA foam now doesn't mean I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, now 3D print this. So I just wanted to test the EVA foam out, and since apparently you can get it at Walmart now, or not now, but I realized that a little earlier back. So which is good because if I can also find it at my mom's, then obviously that means EVA film is going to be a little bit more a little more acceptable in a general range, unless you don't have a Walmart near you or something, and you're going to have to buy it offline. Which again, everything that I use EVA foam with, you can always use cardboard and glue them together. So it's still possible with the cheaper things. It's just I still want to make things look nice and also in my budget. Even though now I do have a job, I can probably end up buying much more expensive materials. I'm not gonna because that's not how I do things. So I do use a little bit more expensive tools, and that's because my dad has expensive tools. But since I'm going to my mom's, I'm not gonna have a lot of access to that. So and really the only things I ever actually use that are expensive is like maybe the Dremel. But I mean, you can easily do that without a Dremel. It'll take a little while, a little bit more skill, but that's fine. But yeah, so now that you have this flattened out, you're done with the template. To be honest, now if you still want to make a helmet, you trace this onto cardboard, foam, whatever, and there you go. Really, it should come together just fine as long as you match up everything. Whenever you put this on cardboard, as an example, you just take your Sharpie, do that. You don't actually cut it out. Reason being is because, and also you only cut these out the thickness of the Sharpie. You just do that, and then with this one, obviously you want to trace out and trace on the innermost. So let's say this is the area. Trace on the innermost, or cut on the innermost of the Sharpie, because Sharpie obviously has a little bit of thickness. So you have this thickness, you want to cut right here on the inside line. And a lot of people will get mixed up and say, oh, well, this triangle right here is the inside, and they'll cut more than they need. Which is fine, at least you're not cutting too far in, but whenever you get to right here, you kind of reverse. Or you don't really reverse, you just kind of keep tracing, you kind of keep going with that inner line. But some people will kind of get mixed up. It's the innermost to the shape that you're cutting out. So that's one thing to remember with Sharpie. Unless you have a fine tip, it shouldn't matter too much, but yeah, there you go. I'll post an update about me making the Mandalorian. And also the cool thing about Mandalorian helmets is they're not all completely the exact same shape, and so if I do use this, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, so I'm gonna post some updates on that, which usually I like to get these things done in a reasonable time. I don't like taking weeks on these things, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go make the helmet right now, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.